Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another new episode of the Going Rounds podcast. As you can see, the out of town shit is up because I'm not home. And I'm pretty sad about that because this week is a banging ass week for combat sports. There's so much going on, it's insane. So much so that while prepping for this, it made me forget about my shitty ass week. I'm not going to get too into that, but I will say that it's been a hell of a week. And especially when I'm out of town, it makes it even worse. Craziness happening all week. But yeah, I don't even know. I don't even know how to describe it. I don't even know what to say about it. So I'm gonna leave it at that. It's been a week, but again, crazy week for combat sports. I'm excited. We got a whole lot going on, and I definitely want to get right into it because yeah, there's just so much to talk about, and there's just news happening today, breaking news. There's a press conference happened for UFC 299. I'm hoping there's not too much background noise at any point in time. I there's some fools that like to just party outside of my hotel room here, like every night. Luckily, by about 9:30 they chill, but it's like story fucking time out there. I don't know what they're doing. I half the time I don't even know if they're speaking English or Spanish or some other fucking crazy mixture of languages. But most of the time I have my TV or my earbuds turned up loud enough for me not to worry about it. But if you hear anything in the background, that's what it is. Everything else should be good. So I'm ready to get into it. Before we go too far, because it's fresh in my head, the UFC 299 press conference was okay. The crowd was fucking crazy hyped. It's in Miami this week, so well, the fighters themselves weren't too riled up. It wasn't anything too eventful. But man, if you saw the panel, you just look at the table, you look at both sides, right? They line up by like the opponents are separated. Dana's in the middle, and sometimes some guys get all dressed up and nice and fancy. Some guys come out all business. Some guys come out fucking just being a weirdo. But of course, Sugar Sean comes out Afro Circus on top. Looks like who's the green guy in the trash can in Sesame Street? Hit me up in the chat if you remember. Oscar the Grouch. I think that's what, right? I think so. It just hit me right now, and I hope I'm right about that. But dude, go look at pictures from the press conference today. I'm telling you, if Oscar the Grouch is correct, you'll know what I mean. The dude in the trash can, the green guy on Sesame Street, that's what I'm thinking of. I believe that's his name. But you got Afro Circus on top, and you got that on the bottom. Oscar, yes. My wife said I'm right. So thank you. I appreciate that. And she was also checking in for me, making sure that I'm coming through okay, because it's tough out here when I'm out in the middle of nowhere. And I'm not using hotel Wi-Fi. It doesn't work well enough, so I'm using a hotspot. Thankfully, my phone works well. It's not always the case. Hopefully, it holds up. So let's get to it before it gets too crazy. Oh, so anyway, that was Sean O'Malley looking like that. You had Kevin Holland look like the urban cowboy, a big old cowboy hat on. Why, I don't know. You would think they were in Texas. I don't know why he's wearing that. Cheeto Vera looked like one of his many personas, because every time he changes his hair on his head or his facial hair, he looks different. And this time he's looking like half homeless, half, I don't even know. But yeah, and then you got Yadong looking like a K-pop star. You got Peter Yan and Jack Della Maddalena looking like they synced up on their outfits. Dude, it was weird. Michael Venom Page had some look like cargo Janko pants. I don't know if you remember Jankos from back in the day. They were like big old parachute denim pants. But Michael Venom Page looked like he's wearing the khaki colored like cargo pant version of that. I don't even know, man. I should have put up pictures for it, but I couldn't find very many that would have came across like I wanted it to. So it was hilarious. I couldn't stop laughing. And Sean O'Malley's on his shit like normal. Cheeto's just sitting back laughing. No one else really talked a lot of shit. So not uneventful, but not too eventful. So go check it out. At least go look at what everyone looked like, because that's just too funny to pass up. So UFC 299 press conference is over. That happened. It's done. In the bag. Tomorrow we got the official weigh-ins in the morning, ceremonial weigh-ins in the evening. So yeah, I'll be on the lookout for that. Follow my social media. That's going on right down there. Right behind my ugly mic stand. It's my travel one. What can I say? But yeah, go follow all my social media. Facebook and Instagram is where I'm at the most, because that's where I get the most news. I'm reposting, letting you know. If you're not following all the accounts I follow, I'll give you the information. So go check it out. And then I throw up some TikToks and stuff too, which this weekend, I didn't prep anything for this either. I don't know what I'm doing. I had so much other shit to cover that I totally forgot. But I will put it on social media, so go follow me there and any of those platforms, and you'll see I am going to do a watch party podcast this weekend for UFC 299. It's too big of an event not to. I know Clark's coming through, possibly Josh again. Patrick might join in remotely. We'll see who else jumps on or what else we do. But yeah, I'm ready to have a good time watching this fight, because I feel like it's going to be crazy. It's going to be fun. So during the main card of UFC 299, I believe starting at 8 p.m. Arizona time, that's what time I'll be live. As soon as that main card starts, we go live. So be on the lookout for that. I'll be throwing out promotional like pictures and stuff, reminders over the next couple days. Be on the lookout for that. Go follow my social media. And don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel right here if you haven't already. And share it with a friend. Share it with somebody, anybody. Just help me grow my channel. That'd be much appreciated. Let's get into the craziness, because right off the bat, we have everyone's favorite fighter, the most popular guy in combat sports. We all love him. Just kidding. We all love to hate him mostly. I mean, I don't really hate the guy. I appreciate what he's doing on some aspects. But Jake Paul did fight this past weekend, if you did not know. Last Saturday, he fought against Ryan Borland. No one knows who the fuck that is. And you're not going to know who he is, because he sucks. Plain and simple, he sucks. I feel bad for the guy, but I'm sure he got a bit of a bag just for taking that fight. And a lot of people say he took a fall too, but it is what it is. Jake Paul fought and won again. And the unfortunate thing here is that Amanda Serrano was supposed to be the headlining fight. It was supposed to be the main event versus Minky. And unfortunately, that got canceled right before Jake Paul went out to fight. They didn't announce it until after Jake Paul's fight was over. But Amanda Serrano, unfortunately, had an eye injury due to, sounds crazy, and I hate to say it, because unfortunately, these are the things that people think about when you talk about women's combat sports like boxing, MMA, or any of that stuff. You know, you hear about these things, and then the people that like to talk shit will be like, of course this happened, of course, maybe you shouldn't do this. But what happened was, she got her hair colored, she got it dyed, whatever, however you want to say it. Whatever was in the dye, lots of chemicals, you know, ladies, it's not good for your hair. We all know this. You talk about it all the time, but you continue to do it, and that's fine. We appreciate you. But Amanda Serrano did it a few days before her fight. She went out for a run the next day, I guess. The chemicals were still there. I would think you wash them out, but that shit's strong. Just knowing, having two girls for daughters, having my wife, I'm the only dude in the house, you know, while the kids were still there growing up. I get it. The hair dye, it's crazy. So and you know, those chemicals, man, they're not good. So she got sweat in her eye while running, and the chemicals from the hair dye burned her retina or some shit. And yeah, she couldn't fight. She tried to push through. She wanted to fight, and they waited till the last minute to make the decision. But multitudes of testing happening during the prelims and all the rest of the card, and they just decided, the commission, the doctors, and even her coaching staff, I think, just decided that it was not worth it. So she couldn't make the fight. So unfortunately, that fight got canceled. But I mean, this was in her, home territory of Puerto Rico, and this was like a homecoming of sorts, and a lot of people were excited, and it didn't happen, and it's unfortunate. They had a $1.5 million gate, which means that's how much money they made from people coming in, buying tickets and stuff. So with this happening, Jake Paul said he was already going to be donating his purse to charity. So they decided also, because Amanda Serrano was, like, the majority of the people were there to see her. A lot of people were backing Jake Paul too, because that's where he resides now, is Puerto Rico. So a lot of people know him. They have that pridefulness of him representing their, country, or country's territory. What do you call it? I don't even know. Puerto Rico is one of those weird ones. It's not country, but it's whatever you want to call it. But he lives there. So, they're backing him too. But Amanda Serrano was the star here. So what they did was they decided to go ahead and refund everybody's tickets. Anybody that wanted a refund, they got to watch all the fights before, but the main event didn't happen. So they were cool enough to provide people with refunds. And I mean, I didn't hear anything about how many people got refunded or anything like that. I don't think anybody cares. It's just cool to know. As long as they followed through, it's cool to know that that's what they did. MVP, most valuable productions, that's what happened. So good on them. See, that's what I'm saying. Jake Paul and his affiliates, they do a lot of good stuff. A lot of times people don't give him credit. They just want to talk shit. I get it. He's a polarizing personality and stuff, but sometimes some good comes out of it. So Jake Paul, couple highlights here. This dude was back in the day, I guess 90s maybe, I don't know, multiple time Golden Gloves winner, but didn't look like a lot in the cage in the ring, unfortunately. So it wasn't a big test. Jake kept saying that it was gonna be one of his, a bigger test than last one against Andre August. He predicted a second round KO. It came in the first round. So once again, knocking the fool out in the first round, and didn't really get tested much. But he looked a little sloppy, as you can see here in this picture, just winging punches. You don't learn a lot from these fights when this is the way you fight, because you just decide to let it fly. Like, stay technical, stay tactical, make it look good so people can stop talking. No one's gonna stop talking though until he does something bigger than you would even expect. And we're gonna touch on that in a minute, because if you haven't heard, there's big news coming out about Jake Paul. So it will continue after we get through a couple of these highlights. I'm sorry for the haters out there, but it's big news. Jake Paul's wrapped up in the combat sports world, and it's content, bro. What can I tell you? It's in my world right now, so I'm gonna cover it, and I'm gonna give him his props when needed. But this fight, not good for those haters that like to talk shit. I mean, it's good for them, but not good against them for Jake Paul. But it is what it is. He came out with the win. That's really all. That's really all there is to it. He got the win. He got the first round KO. It's not like he's just barely skimming by these guys, but they're not the most formidable opponents, I guess you could say. So there's that shot, that chin checker, and Jake Paul gets that win. Ryan covered up. It almost looked like some ground and pound situation. The ref jumps in, stops the fight. He didn't even go down. Like, it was kind of weird. He just, a barrage of punches happened, and they called the fight. he didn't like, I don't know. It was weird, but whatever. TKO, first round, KO, whatever you want to call it. It wasn't laid out flat like Andre August, but another win for Jake Paul. And of course, he celebrated as usual. Yeah, that's really all there is to it. Amanda Serrano didn't fight, so we have no highlights there. But oh no. Did I forget to do something? I sure the fuck did. So, while I fix this, because luckily I can fix things on the fly, but I mean, here's the thing about Jake Paul. I feel bad in the manner that he gets a lot of shit for trying to do what he's doing, but he said himself that his goal is to fight like a normal boxer would fight, and his goal was to, you know, work his way up the ladder basically, and do it in a legit way. Unfortunately, his opponents haven't been very I guess impressive to say the least, but and that's kind of how boxers come up. But he's got too big of a name, and that's the problem. He's got too big of a name, and it's difficult to give him credit when he's not fighting other big names. And I know that's why people talk shit and give him shit or whatever, but it is what it is, and that's what he's doing, and you just gotta roll with it. And he says after this that he was on his podcast for a reaction video or a reaction podcast, talking about the fight right after it happened. It was only like 20-30 minutes. A lot of crazy shit happening in there. Everyone's hyped, you know, questions being asked by his brother, his dad, other people in his camp. In the middle of it, they call Ryan Garcia, because Ryan Garcia reacted to the fight saying it's his fault that Jake Paul's out here. He's sorry for getting him into boxing, but he's going to end it for him and for everybody else, and make sure he shuts Jake Paul up. He's going to knock him out. Blah, 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 blah. So Jake Paul calls him on the podcast live, and they're talking mad shit. Like, back and forth, big time mad shit talking. If you've been paying attention to Ryan Garcia and on social media lately, he's off the fucking rails. Seems like he's running down that path that Oscar De La Hoya did. Too many drugs, bro. Stay off the snow. Stay off the meth. I don't know what you're doing, man, but you are not looking good. Not a good look for Ryan Garcia. So I hope he gets his shit together, because he has a fight with Devin Haney coming up. But he is in another realm of something, and I don't even know what to explain. I didn't even want to cover it here. Too much other positive things to cover, so I'll get off that subject. But anyway, in that, Jake Paul, in the podcast, Jake Paul says he wants to take a break. He's been nonstop, blah, 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 blah. But in true Jake Paul fashion, that didn't hold up. Because today we get the announcement. Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson live on fucking Netflix. I saw this, and okay, so I don't have great service where I'm at, like at the actual job site. I have to go to particular areas in order to get updated with everything, so notifications come in like crazy. And I see this, and I'm like, no way. What the fuck? Go searching for confirmation, and I sure as fuck, I got it. Confirmation, it's happening. Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. So again, running down that path, saying he wants to do it like a normal boxer, saying this, saying that, and then, you know, everyone talks shit about how you're fighting nobodies and blah, blah, blah. All you're doing is fighting old, washed up fighters, MMA fighters, all this other shit. Well, Mike Tyson may be old. I don't know that he's washed up. I mean, that fight against Roy Jones Jr. is a weird one, but I mean, he still looked pretty good. What's going to happen here, though? Is this going to be some stupid rule fight where you can't knock each other down or you can't throw haymakers? I mean, what's going to happen here? Is Mike Tyson going to go at it and become the Mike Tyson of old and eat this motherfucker's heart? Because that's what Mike Tyson goes out to do. And if that's the case, he's going to be bigger than ever, because all those Jake Paul haters are going to be happy. But if Jake Paul knocks out Mike Tyson, the hype train continues and it goes from a train to a motherfucking plane, because that shit's gonna take off, and you're never gonna hear the end of it. So I don't know what's gonna happen here. But the other interesting thing, live on Netflix, I talked about it before, Netflix is trying to get into that live combat sports game, into live sports in general, actually. But yeah, this is supposed to be live on Netflix Saturday, July 20th. Ooh, dry mouth already, and I just got started. Yeah, I don't know, we'll see. Maybe this kicks off the new kind of level of things happening on Netflix, a new avenue for combat sports. There's been a lot of talk about it, so we'll see. But if you've seen this on social media, it's fucking real. And if you thought it wasn't real, and if you're still doubting it, it's all over the place. If they're fucking duping us, then I mean, good on them. They're doing a good job. But Mike Tyson isn't really the type to go out there and put out that he's going to fight somebody unless he's actually going to fight somebody. So I'll be waiting to see how this progresses. So there it is. Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. Big news for the day. Let's get off that Jake Paul shit. Let's move into Gamebred Bareknuckle MMA that happened this past weekend. Junior Dos Santos versus Alan Belcher. Alan Belcher being a former UFC middleweight fighter, now fighting at heavyweight for Bareknuckle MMA. And you got Junior Dos Santos, who is also a former UFC fighter, a former UFC champion in the light heavyweight division, now fighting in the heavyweight division of Bareknuckle MMA. This was the inaugural MMA World Championship, or Bareknuckle MMA World Championship bout, the first belt they've given out, and for the heavyweight division. And yeah, it was a pretty exciting fight. We'll just get right into it. I mean, Alan Belcher came out, busted up Ngannou. That's Junior Dos Santos' nickname. I don't know. That just came straight out of my mouth like everyone was going to know. JDS, though, busted his nose, broke it. I mean, his nose is like, I'll show a picture in a minute. His nose was just gone. just going the wrong way. Big gash on his nose. So Belcher did some work, but, he's still the smaller fighter. He came in probably like 25, 30 pounds under what Dos Santos came in at. So, I mean, obviously, like I said, he was the lower weight fighter when he was in the UFC. But, Dos Santos came out with the fury and winds up knocking down Alan Belcher. As you can see here, I mean, Dos Santos looks like he's off balance, but it's just in the middle of like walking towards him, I guess. But yeah, Belcher goes down. JDS gets down on the ground, does some ground and pound. You can see how bloodied up Alan Belcher was. He got hit quite a bit on the feet, and got a bunch of scar tissue opened up on his face. Bare knuckle, man. Whether it's boxing or MMA, it's gonna be bloody. You're gonna get cut, and unless you're not doing anything, there's gonna be blood, and that's how it goes. So here's a better picture of the bloody mess of a face that Alan Belcher had while getting finished by Junior Dos Santos. And of course, we get the big win, the first ever heavyweight champion of Gamebred Bareknuckle MMA, Junior Dos Santos, with the win, gets the belt. And here's some damage. Look at his nose. Look at what the fuck. Look at his nose. God damn. That is insane. Now, we all know JDS can take some damage. I think his life was altered by the damage that was inflicted by Cain Velasquez in the last time that they fought, which was way back in the day. But if you remember, Cain just royally whooped his ass. And I mean, that fight should have been stopped multiple times before it actually got stopped. But JDS can take some damage, man. The boy's got heart. The man, I should say. This fool is like in his 40s, still kicking ass in bare knuckle MMA for Gamebred MMA, which is Jorge Masvidal's organization, if you don't know. So yeah, and then here's Belcher's face after the fact. So his nose looks pretty fucked up too, but he just has that grizzled kind of look all the time anyway. So bloodied up, got finished by JDS, and that was that for the main event. The co-main was Chase Sherman versus Alex Nicholson. Chase Sherman scores a massive KO with this I think it was an uppercut or a hook. I don't remember exactly, but big time KO versus Alex Nicholson. Alex Nicholson goes out cold. That is a fucking horrendous picture. Just because, like, oh man, I mean, it's exciting. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm squeamish and thinking that this isn't a fucking crazy picture, but look, I mean, his head against the cage, eyes open, but he is out cold. Crazy, man. Bare knuckle MMA, just another fun portion of MMA / combat sports that is exciting to watch if you're into it, if you can handle it, because it's bloody, it's messy, and you're gonna see some crazy shit like this. So there you go, Gamebred Bareknuckle MMA, pretty good event this past weekend, free on YouTube as well. So next time you get one, next time I cover it, just know you can watch it on the Gamebred MMA or Gamebred YouTube channel. I'm not 100% sure, I forget, but anyway, you can go back and watch this event too, I believe. So there it is, Gamebred Bareknuckle MMA with their first heavyweight champion, their first belt handed out, JDS with that win. Chase Sherman, another former UFC champion, with this big win. Good night of fights. Unfortunately, I don't have my old fashioned tonight. Gotta make do with what I got. Jack and Coke it is. Old Faithful. All right, moving on. Another big event coming up tomorrow, actually. And why tomorrow? Well, this is happening in Saudi Arabia. It's in Riyadh. And you know, those Saudi guys are just throwing money left and right for all these combat sports to come out there and put on a show, and we're here for it, man. That's all I gotta say, because these big fucking fights just continuously keep getting announced and keep happening. The UFC's going out there later on this year. PFL was out there. I mean, shit's going down. Big boxing. That's the first thing that's been out there, because Saudi's always been into boxing, you know. Turkey, blah blah blah. I don't know his name, man. I feel bad. I hear it over and over again, but this guy is like the fucking big man, big boss of all of this. And he talks it up good. He's a true fan, and he's out there throwing money and getting these big events to happen. And they're putting good promotional things out as well. If you didn't see the trailer for this fight, go watch that shit. It is worth it. Cinematic quality. You feel like you're watching a trailer for a movie. It gets you fucking hyped. It's got a video game feel, like Mike Tyson's Punch Out type shit. It's called Knockout Chaos. So you can see that right there, because we got the big boys, Anthonyjoshua versus Francis Ngannou, going down tomorrow night. And this could be big. This could be big in the way that if Anthony Joshua can knock out Francis Ngannou, that is something no one else has done in MMA or boxing. Tyson Fury couldn't get it done, and you know, Francis Ngannou is just a beast of a man. So, but on the flip side, Francis Ngannou having only one professional boxing match against Tyson Fury, of all people, one of the greatest heavyweights to fight today, and he knocked him down. He knocked down Tyson Fury. He gave him a great fight. A lot of people thought that he won that fight against Tyson Fury. Unfortunately, I feel like maybe his cardio failed him a little bit, so he didn't capitalize in the later rounds, and I think that hurt him. So that was unfortunate. But tomorrow he tests himself again against yet another big name in the boxing world, Anthony Joshua. Man, I don't even know what to say. It's going to be crazy. I mean, look at these two monsters facing off. Of course, you got Francis Ngannou in the like kind of African gear. Anthony Joshua in his signature AirPod in the ear. No one knows what he's listening to. Is he listening to anything? I don't know. But if you go to social media and find Francis Ngannou's Instagram page or anywhere, I'm sure you can find it. But he does a little skit of him. He's got the AirPod in and he's fucking like looking. He takes the AirPod out and looks at it because it's like listening. So you got the audio happening as if the AirPod is in your ear. You hear clear audio. Take it out and it sounds like it's just out there. It's good production quality. Everything's great. This shit just gets you hyped, man. But even in the face-off, I think they had another face-off today. Yeah, for the weigh-ins and stuff. They had that face-off going on, and Ngannou comes out with the AirPod in his ear too, just trolling. Ngannou's been on a pretty good fucking just trip of trolling / just being out there in social media and everywhere else, talking shit to John Jones during the during the PFL event that happened out there a couple weeks ago, calling him fat and all kinds of other shit. Like Ngannou's hot right now. I don't know what else to say. He's tearing up the game right now. So hopefully that catapults him into having a great fight against this beast of a man, Anthony Joshua. The dude has a crazy physique. Now we've seen him get beat. We've seen him get beat bad by dude, the Mexican dude that knocked him out. Ruiz, I think. I can't remember his first name. God damn it. But anyway, yeah, he got knocked out by him. There's been the talks of Tyson Fury versus him for a while. It hasn't happened, but Joshua's a beast, and he's definitely one of the biggest names in boxing right now. I can't speak to everything about his record, his career, none of that stuff, because I don't follow boxing like I follow MMA. It's just too much, man. I can't keep up with all of it. If this was my one and only job, which I sure as fuck wish it was, but it isn't. Maybe I can keep up with this stuff more. But if I'm gonna have a life outside of podcasting and everything and keeping up with combat sports, I have to, I have to let some stuff slide. And boxing's one of those things. But I like to cover the big events and I like to talk about it. Combat sports oriented, I love it, so I can't ignore it. But I know Anthony Joshua is a great boxer, but he has vulnerabilities. I've heard, and Francis Ngannou is here to try to take advantage of that with his massive punching power. Anthony Joshua has good power as well, but I don't know. I think Francis Ngannou has a good enough chin where if he gets hit once good, he should be okay. But if Joshua is able to tee off on him, I don't know that Ngannou's going to be able to handle that and take that damage. But I guess we'll see. But as you remember, I'm sure, Francis Ngannou got this nice big left hook to Tyson Fury, caught Tyson slipping and knocked him down. And we got this fantastic fucking picture out of it. Now, I like Tyson Fury, don't get me wrong. But watching Francis Ngannou doing what he's done in boxing so far and becoming the star that he's become after, if you know his backstory, if you know the way he grew up, if you know the way that his story has gone, trying to make his way out of Cameroon and make his way to the US, it's insane. So, and what he was doing 10 years ago, you would have never guessed that he would be where he is now. So it's a great fucking story. He's a cool ass motherfucker. He makes me laugh all the time. When I see him doing stuff on social media and all that, he's just becoming a star, or already is a star in my eyes. I believe a lot of people do as well. and taking these high profile boxing matches when people thought that he didn't even deserve to be in that ring with Tyson Fury. Now people are taking him a lot more serious against Anthony Joshua, and the element of surprise is gone. Joshua's seen him go 10 rounds now with a high level fighter like Tyson Fury, one of the elites. So you know, they're not going to take him lightly. That's for damn sure. Anthony Joshua will not take him lightly. So I hope Ngannou has, you know, filled in the cracks, you know, worked on all of the stuff that he needed to work on. And I hope that he comes out looking good in this fight, because even if he hangs with Joshua and puts up a good fight like he did against Tyson Fury, I mean, he's got a long ways ahead of him with some big money making fights against big name boxers. I mean, you know, Wilder's out there ready to fight him too. I think that'd be a crazy fight. But if Ngannou beats Anthony Joshua, he is just gonna be on a rocket to outer space, man. That's really all I can say. He's gonna be so high up here, and there's not gonna be any knocking him down for a while at least. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited for this one. This is happening tomorrow. It is a pay-per-view, so you got to pay for it. I believe it's happening in the US like during the day. I believe in the US it's gonna start at like 11 a.m. I think, or something like that, because it's happening in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. So I'll be on the lookout, waiting for those updates, waiting for the highlights. I have to work for the first half of the day. I'm still out here in this shitty place that I'm at. No offense to the people that live here, but I I hate this place. Everything's too difficult here. Not enough happening. I'm a big, not big city, but I'm a city person. That this is a lot of yeah. Anyway, who cares? But I'm driving half my day tomorrow as well, driving back home. So yeah, I'm gonna be anxiously awaiting the results, the highlights, and everything else. Check it out. Follow social media if you don't want to buy the fight, or buy the fight and let me the fuck know what's happening. But that about wraps it up for that. I'm rooting for Ngannou, man. I like Anthony Joshua, but Ngannou represents the MMA world. That's the world I'm immersed in. And, you know, I've been following Ngannou since the beginning. The Predator, when he had the hair, everything like that. Watched him fight live against Cain Velasquez, which was unfortunate because I'm a big Velasquez fan as well. But they fought in Phoenix, Arizona. Went to that fight. It only lasted a few seconds, but I did get to see it. And yeah, I'm just a big fan of Ngannou and what he's doing right now. So good luck to him tomorrow with this big fight against Anthony Joshua. Let's move on to last week's UFC event. We had Jairzinho Rozenstruik versus Shamil Gaziev for UFC Fight Night 238, or UFC Vegas 80 something or other. Who knows? All the fucking numbers, god damn it. It happened at the Apex though, so there's that. That's still happening. But hey, whatever. Good fights come out of there too. This night of fights, some good, some bad. Not all bad, so that's good. Not the biggest of cards or whatever, but leading up to UFC 299, where we're coming up to this gigantic card. And then we're going to have another one with UFC 300 next month. I mean, we got big fights coming. So a couple of off nights of fight nights here and there. No big deal. At least we still got fights. That's all I got to say. But there was some exciting fights going on in this one. And yeah, I want to touch on that here, because even in the undercard, there was some decent fights. Let me get to, I tried not to have too much open in another tab. Usually I have like 6 tabs open because I have all these screens and I can, you know, when I'm at home. But when I'm out here, I have to try my best to keep things to a minimum, because obviously you know, with internet and stuff not being the best and all that, I have to kind of keep it to a minimum, not overload things. So you got to bear with me while I open up another tab so that I can get the proper information, because I can't memorize all this shit. It's a lot. It's a lot, especially when I have this many things to cover. I mean, there's just too many fights, too many events, and too much information. But here we go. UFC Fight Night 238, Jairzinho Rozenstruik versus Shamil Gaziev. In the lower prelim fights, let's see, we had Ludovic Klein with a big TKO win over AJ Cunningham. This was a front kick to the body and punches to follow, leading up to a TKO win for Ludovic Klein. He looked damn good in this fight. AJ Cunningham is a decent fighter. He's got a crazy backstory. I was reminded of this today when I was listening to a podcast. But unfortunately for Cunningham, he couldn't fight off Ludovic Klein and winds up getting TKO'd in the first round. So it was almost a full first round, 4 minutes and 36 seconds in. But yeah, Klein comes out with that big TKO. Let's see, we had Christian Leroy Duncan versus Claudio Ribeiro in the middleweight division. That was a TKO for Duncan, elbows and punches in the second round. Ayman Zahabi, who's Faraz Zahabi's brother, and if you don't know who Faraz Zahabi is, I was gonna say something stupid, I won't say it. He was GSP's head coach, and a bunch of other big name fighters have been coached by him. Ayman Zahabi's his little brother, and of course Faraz coaches him as well. But he fights in the bantamweight division for the UFC, and he fought Javid Basharat and winds up getting a unanimous decision win over him. And that brings us to this fight. Actually, there is a fight I wanted to cover and show some highlights of. So before I get to that, Eric Anders also fought Jamie Pickett in the middleweight division. Eric Anders gets the unanimous decision win over Pickett, and that marks Pickett's like 5th loss in a row, I believe, which is insane. I'd be really surprised if the UFC doesn't cut him after this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, 5th loss in a row for Jamie Pickett. That's a damn shame. His record is horrendous. I feel bad for the guy, but he needs to go somewhere else and work out some shit before he competes again in the UFC, because I mean, he's literally a stepping stone for people, and it doesn't get them far because he doesn't have a great record, never been in contention. I feel bad for even talking shit about the guy, but damn, 5 losses in a row. Bro, I don't know what else to say. Let's get to the biggest fight of the prelims. Vinicius Oliveira, nicknamed Vicious for a fucking reason. Look at this punch, just flush on the chin. And against Bernardo Sopai in the bantamweight division. But here's the kicker, or the knee. It was a big flying knee KO win for Vinicius Oliveira. It was a fucking crazy knee, man. I wish I could show the whole clip right here, but you know how that goes. I get copyrighted and all that bullshit, so I don't even take the chance anymore. I tried to do GIFs. I did do it once not too long ago. Maybe I need to go back to that. I'll show the GIF and then take it to a still frame. I'll try to get that done again. Maybe I'll do that after this week's fights, depending on how big they were and stuff. But yeah, this was a crazy knockout for Oliveira. He's looking like a promising up and coming guy that exciting fights every time he's out there. Big time KO for him. So that brings us into the main card. Steve Erceg versus Matt Schnell in the flyweight division. Erceg looks like a fucking world beater, man. This guy just came out. I mean, I hate to talk shit. He looks like such a fucking nerd. I mean, you look at the guy and you're like, I don't think I like this guy. Just by the maybe that's just me, I'm a dick, I don't know, but this guy looks like you want to punch him in the face. Kind of a dorky little guy. Always has this like look on his face too. It's weird, but he's a hell of a fighter, and he gets a big KO win over Matt Schnell in the second round with this big punch. I mean, he bloodied him up, beat him up, and gets a big KO win. in the second round. 26 seconds into the second round, Steve Erceg gets the win in the flyweight division. Next fight, Umar Nurmagomedov versus Bezkat Almakhan. Shit, hard name. But this guy, Bezkat, I talked about him last week, how he was on, like, I can't even tell you how many fight win streak he was on. But yeah, he looked like a good up-and-comer. But as I mentioned, sometimes these guys don't fight to the level of the UFC and the level of fighters they have there. And I mean, Umar Nurmagomedov, that's a tough ass fucking first fight to debut in the UFC. And when it comes down to it, he was a replacement fighter anyway, because Umar was supposed to fight, I think, Corey Sandhagen. So don't remember exactly what took Corey out of the fight, but Umar gets this opponent, and yeah, he gets a unanimous decision win in the bantamweight division over Bezkat Almakhan, I think. Umar looked like his normal self, you know, throwing the kicks, getting some ground and pound in there. He had him fully mounted. Big ups to Bezkat on that one for, you know, surviving. Umar gets the groundwork in as well, you know, that full body lock that he had in right there. I mean, he had him in so many bad positions, but Bezkat survived, but winds up getting the loss by unanimous decision. And Umar continues on that, you know, great win streak he had. I believe he is undefeated. Yeah, he's still undefeated. That marks the 5th win in the UFC. 5-0 in the UFC, 17-0 overall for Umar Nurmagomedov. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. That one's tough because the guy's on his debut fight. Like, fuck. I mean, he was kind of highly touted coming in. Everyone was talking about how skilled he looked and how good he looked in his other fights outside of the UFC, but, you know, he couldn't get it done. Maybe he gets a little bit of a lesser opponent in the next fight, redeems himself a little bit, gains some confidence, shakes off those UFC kind of jitters that you get in the, you know, when you first jump in, gets used to the bright lights, and, you know, gets a little bit of a better showing in his next outing. So let's move on to Mohamed Mokaev versus Alex Perez in the flyweight division. Mokaev, this one, man, a lot of people were thinking Alex Perez was gonna come out and make this a better fight. It was a unanimous decision win for Mokaev, but I'm trying to think here. Let me look real quick at something. This sucks when I don't have all my screens. I usually have everything pulled up, but yeah, I believe Mokaev was he was the favorite. Damn, I just got myself all stuck right now. Oh yeah, but he's undefeated as well. So that was the other thing actually that I was thinking of. So he was definitely the favorite in this one. Alex Perez, though, a lot of people were high on, thinking that you know, he was going to give him a great fight, because Alex Perez has looked good in the past, but unfortunately he couldn't get it done. Mokaev, you know, got the kicks in there, good striking, massive suplex here. That's just kind of what he does, you know. He's got a little bit of everything, and he definitely showed out on this one. Oh shit, I lied. Mokaev was actually the underdog, even though he's undefeated. He was the underdog in this fight at plus 220, and winds up getting the win as the underdog. So that was a hell of a win for him. Let's go. I'm gonna jump back real quick. Steve Erceg was a minus 360 favorite. He got the win. Umar Nurmagomedov, no surprise there, minus 1200 favorite, and he gets the win. And I'm also going through my picks right now for the simple fact that I didn't bet, and the hell's in my mouth? I didn't bet, and all my picks won. I had Urseg, I had Nurmagomedov, I had Mokaev. Man, with Mokaev being an underdog too, man. Got that pick in there. So he looked good in this one. He gets the win, remains undefeated in the UFC, remains undefeated overall in MMA. Then we get to Vitor Petrino versus Tyson Pedro. This one was a, fairly decent fight, but Vitor Petrino just dominated for the most part. Tyson Pedro has not fared well over his past couple fights, unfortunately. I mean, he won his last fight, but he's just kind of win-loss type stuff. So yeah, I was way wrong on that though, but he got a first round knockout in his last outing. But it seems to me like he wasn't big into fighting anymore for the most part. And the reason why I say that is because he did wind up retiring after this fight. I guess he just felt like he, isn't able to keep up with the level of competition, or, maybe he's just not feeling the same way about fighting. But Petrino looked good in this fight and worked Pedro. Ground and pound. He just dominated him. And as I said, Tyson Pedro decides to hang him up after this fight. Gets the loss here and retires in the cage. Pretty emotional time for him. The big news about this one, not just the fact that he retired, but what he said in his post-fight in the post-fight press conference, as well as his post-fight speech in the cage when announcing that he retired. He said, yeah, I'm gonna have to go rob somebody after this because I'm broke. And that's a damn shame, and that caused a lot of uproar in the social media world because of the fighter pay issue again, man. Someone like Tyson Pedro, who's been in the UFC he's been in there for a while. Let me look to make 100% sure. Since 2016, he's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 fights in the UFC, and he's broke. I mean, come on. And not to mention, he's had some great fights in there. He's never really been a big contender. He never fought for the belt. But, and maybe he wasn't like one of the high level, but he's definitely a mid-range fighter at least. He's not lower level. He's a name that people recognize. And the fact that, he's just not making money in MMA for the UFC, it just sucks, man. It sucks. And it just, the continuing subject of fighter pay being way too low. I know people talk all this shit about, I saw that he made $600,000 for this fight, and it's like, okay, some of those guys up there do make that much, but if they fight twice a year, with all of their expenses included, they have to live off that money for the whole year. Now that sounds like a lot of money to some people who don't make that in a year, but they only get a percentage of that because they got to pay a lot of people. We got to pay bills, but they got to pay their bills too, on top of paying their training camps, paying their food, paying medical bills. They don't have insurance. The UFC only covers certain things that happen. So if you get hurt and you're out for the year after one fight in the beginning of the year, you only made that 600 grand. When a lot of that goes away, maybe you come out with 300 and you're already behind because last year you only had one fight. It stacks up. So I'll save you the boring story. We won't get into that now. We got too much other stuff to cover, but the fighter pay issue continues. Guys that are leaving the UFC or retiring, talking about how they have no money. And, of course, we don't know how they handled their money or anything like that, but it's still a sad point that someone who had 11 fights in the UFC, has been around since 2016, retires in 2024 and says he's broke. It's a goddamn shame. And now he's going to leave the UFC to go find somewhere to make money like a regular person because he can't fight in the UFC and make the money anymore. And maybe it's just his passion for fighting might be gone, something like that. And that's kind of his issue, but it's still just the fighter pay thing sucks. So I hate seeing this kind of shit. But it is what it is. What can we do, right? But talk about it, and I like to talk about it here and there. And I do feel passionately about it because I know that the way I feel about these fighters and watching the fights and all that, I appreciate them. I enjoy doing all of it, and I get to do all this because they put on the fights that they put on, and you know, that's it. I won't get too far into that. Let's move on to the main event. Shamil Gaziev, who was also undefeated, he was 12-0 against Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Jairzinho's a big dude, scary motherfucker. He throws hands for sure, heavy hands, and but Shamil has been pretty impressive. I think he only had one UFC fight before this. Yeah, he came from Dana White's Contender Series, where he got a submission win. But he comes in with only one win in the UFC, and then fights a big guy like Jairzinho Rozenstruik. And unfortunately, I mean, he looked like he was doing all right. He's landing some punches, you know, landing strikes here and there. But he got busted up, got bloodied up. There's some more that he landed. Jairzinho's been stopped before. He's one of those guys that looks like he should be beating everybody, but he's gotten beat as well. And you know, I'm not sure what to say, because I feel like I want to be high on him, but at the same time, he had a lot of trouble with Jailton Almeida. He had a couple losses in a row to Curtis Blades and Alexander Volkov. He lost to Cyril Gane. So like against the real elite fighters, he doesn't do super well, at least in the past. But he definitely showed out against Gaziev here, and he took over, landed some good punches, big overhand right here. I mean, you get hit by this big boy, it's heavyweight, you know, and he's on the big side of heavyweight. So definitely getting Gaziev bloodied up. Look at that. Oof. Big punch to the nose and mouth. Nose is bloodied. That's nasty, but also exciting. And then another big punch there to Gaziev. Rozenstruik gets a TKO. Wow, that's weird. Why does it say TKO retirement? So this one ended kind of a weird ending here. So apparently Gaziev was having issues with one of his eyes. He wouldn't answer questions. He was being kind of funky and weird about it all. And I guess, I mean, it was kind of a, not that he gave up, but like he kind of gave up. So I don't know. It doesn't say doctor stoppage, so I don't know that the doctors really stopped the fight. I feel like it was more like him and his corner just kind of insinuating that he wasn't going to be able to go on. It was a weird ending to the fight, but Jairzinho Rozenstruik gets the win in the fourth round by TKO. Basically, it went the whole full fourth round. They were in between rounds, between the fourth and fifth was when all this was going down, and that's where it ended. So, yeah. That was it for the main event, and that was it for UFC Fight Night 238. Now we move on to what we've all been waiting for, UFC 299 in Miami. Sean O'Malley versus Chito Vera, part 2. If you remember, or if you don't know, they fought once before. When Sean O'Malley was first coming up, becoming the Sean O'Malley that he is. But Chito caught him in that perineal or perineal nerve or something like that. When the low kicks to the calf, it was a calf kick. Caught him in that nerve that gives you drop foot. You know, Sugar couldn't do anything because, you know, nobody can really handle that. When that nerve gets hit, that's what happens. And yeah, he lost. It's a TKO loss when that kind of stuff happens because Chito inflicted the damage. Sean couldn't continue. That's how it goes. It's a loss. But according to Sean O'Malley, and what I've heard over and over and over again, is the Sugar State Athletic Commission I don't know, doesn't overturn that win, and he says he's undefeated. I don't know. This is something that's going around. But when it comes down to it, the motherfucker has a loss, okay? He's not undefeated. Sean O'Malley has a loss. It was a legit loss. You couldn't continue the fight, bro. And Chito Vera kicked your fucking leg, so he wins. Plain and simple. And I like Sugar Sean. I like him a lot, actually, as a fighter and stuff. But this whole gimmick thing that he's playing with, that he's undefeated and continuously denies being beat by Chito, we're gonna find out, because I mean, they're in no means, by no way are they the same fighters they were back then. That was, I don't even know how long ago at this point, but we'll touch on that when we get to covering that fight. But yeah, so this is the second time they've matched up, and this will be for the bantamweight title, because Sean O'Malley is the bantamweight champion at the moment, and he got that belt by beating Aljamain Sterling. So this is actually his first title defense against Chito Vera. He called out Chito, said he needs to fight Chito, and that's what is happening. So Marlon Vera, by the way, is his real name, but everyone calls him Chito because that's his nickname. That's how he's referred to, is Chito, so we call him Chito Vera. Just like Sugar Sean is Sugar Sean. Anyway, co-main event, Dustin Poirier versus Benoit Saint-Denis. This fucking card is stacked. I mean, there is so many big fights all the way down in the prelims, all the way up to the main, throughout the main card, I should say. And yeah, so this is happening this Saturday, March 9th on pay-per-view, UFC 299. I'm having a watch party podcast, that's for damn sure, and I can't wait, because I feel like this is going to be a big night of fights. I feel like we're going to get some crazy finishes, or at least some super exciting, 5-round fights, 3-round fights, whatever. If it goes to decision, I feel like it's still going to be exciting. I feel like these are great matchups all the way through, and I'm hyped, man. I cannot wait. But speaking of the entire card, let's check out the early prelims. To start off the prelims, the very first fight of the night, we have Joanne Wood, formerly Joanne Calderwood, fighting Marina Moroz. Now, those are two names, if you follow MMA and you know the UFC, you've heard these names and you've seen these girls fight. It's a flyweight fight for the women's division. Joanne Wood, I always call her Calderwood because that's how I remember, 16-8 versus Marina Moroz, who's 11-5. Joanne Wood is coming off a win over Luana Carolina. It's a split decision win back in March of last year. Before that, she was on a 3-fight losing skid. So hopefully she sticks to the win column in this one. I do like Marina Moroz as well. She's a little bit of a weird kind of fighter / person in general, but she is on a 2-fight losing streak right now, which is unfortunate, to Jennifer Maia and Karine Silva. So the last time she fought was actually on the Sugar Sean O'Malley versus Aljamain Sterling fight in August of last year, where Sean won the title. So that was the last time she fought. But again, 2-fight losing streak for her versus Joanne Wood. Joanne Wood's a very back and forth, up and down fighter though, so this should be a good fight overall. Next fight, CJ Vergara versus Asu Almabiev. That's a flyweight fight. Then we have Robelis Dispengne versus Josh Parisian. That's a heavyweight bout. This Robelis guy, I believe, is the Cuban, big Cuban dude. He's 4-0 in MMA, and this is his debut in the UFC. Big, kind of some hype around this guy, so that might be one to look out for. Then we have Michelle Pereira versus Mikhail Oleksiejczuk. This is a middleweight fight here. Pereira's that crazy dude who does backflips and lands on people. He's always doing some crazy shit. He's 29-11. He's on a holy shit, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's on a 6-fight win streak. His last one being against Andre Petrosky back in October. That was a TKO win in the first round for him. He's got wins over Santiago Ponzinibbio, Andre Fialho, Nico Price. Man, 6-fight win streak. This fool's coming out to win for sure. But he's got a pretty tough opponent in Mikhail Zaitchik. He is 19-6, and he's coming off a win over Chidi Njokuani back in August. Before that was a loss to Kyle Baralio. But that is a middleweight fight. Moving on to the light heavyweight division, we got Ian Cutelaba versus Felipe Lins. Like I said, there's only like 2 fights in here so far that like you may not know who they are. Everyone else, guaranteed, you've seen them fight, you've heard of them. Yeah, light heavyweight division, Ian Cutelaba versus Felipe Lins. Ian Cutelaba is the dude that has come out in the past. He calls himself the Hulk. He came out in all fucking, he had his head shaved at the time, came out all green paint, all hulked up. It's kind of cool actually. He's done it a couple times, but yeah, he is 17-9, coming off a win over Tanner Boser back in April of last year. Before that, he was on a 3-fight losing skid, so hopefully he keeps himself in the win column here. But those 3 fights were against pretty decent names: Ryan Spann, Johnny Walker, and Kennedy Nzechukwu. So yeah, he's fighting Felipe Lins, a little bit of an older fighter here, Brazilian, 17-5. He's 38 years old, so yeah, that's what I mean by a little bit of an older fighter. But he's an impressive fighter for sure. He's on a 3-fight win streak with wins over Marcin Prachnio, Owen St. Preux, and Maxim Grishin. Last one being in June of last year. Unanimous decision win there. So this should be a pretty damn good matchup. I mean, both these guys are coming off wins. Hopefully nothing is going too slow, because right now my page doesn't want to load. That's not good, because that's my only information right now. There we go. Just enough time to take a sip. Man, it's like dry out here right now. I don't get it. My lips have been dried like crazy all week. My coworker who's up here with me has had a fucking it's like a dry runny nose, if that makes sense. Like, he says his nose feels all dry, but yet he keeps having the sniffles. Strange. It's kind of chill, kind of cold out here like throughout the day, so maybe that's why, I'm not sure. But yeah, continuing on. I mean, we're still in the prelims here, man. Like, this is what I'm talking about. This is a big card. This is a lot of names on this card. With this one, we got Pedro Munoz versus Kyler Phillips in the bantamweight division. Munoz is one of those guys that you like to watch fight for sure. He's always kind of wrapped up in a pretty good fight. He's 20-8 overall. But he's coming off a loss to Chito Vera back in August. So, you know, that was a higher level fight for him. That was a unanimous decision loss. And that was the fight where Chito didn't look very good in that fight. He looked kind of slow. He looked kind of out of it. So, yeah. But Pedro Munoz also has a fight against Sean O'Malley back in July of 2022. But it was a no contest accidental eye poke in the second round. So he's fought a lot of big names: Chris Gutierrez, Dominic Cruz, Jose Aldo, Jimmy Rivera, Frankie Edgar, Aljamain Sterling, Cody Garbrandt, Brian Caraway. I mean, he's 37 years old. He's fought a lot of big names. So, but his opponent is Kyler Phillips, who's 11-2. God damn it. Bear with me here with this fucking slow internet. As long as the stream's going good, I guess I can't complain too much. But Kyler Phillips is 11-2. He's on a 2-fight win streak, with those wins being over Marcelo Rojo and Honi Barcelos. That fight was in August of last year. Unanimous decision win for him. So this should be a fairly decent fight as well. And we're still in the prelims. I'm talking like we still got 3 more. I mean, how many fucking fights are on this card? There's 14 fights on this card. That's insane. That is crazy. And we're still in the prelims. Mateusz Gamrot versus Rafael dos Anjos in the fucking prelims. Like, I was reading something earlier that said Dos Anjos hasn't been in a prelim fight in like 14 years or some shit like that. Maybe not that long, but it's been a long 14 fights maybe. I don't know. Something like that. But Gamrot's a game opponent, and his nickname is Gamer. 23-2. And he is on a 2-fight win streak. Dos Anjos is 32-15. That tells you how much of a vet Dos Anjos is. Former champion, coming off a loss though to Vicente Luque. He's been on kind of a little bit of a win-loss streak here, but I mean, as far as this one goes, it's always a great fight with Dos Anjos is involved. Moving into the women's flyweight division, we got Caitlin, formerly known as Chukagian, but now is Serminara. She got married apparently, so changed her name. Chukagian was hard enough to say. I can't even say it, man. It is what it is. 18-5 for Caitlin versus Macy Barber, 13-2. This should be a good fight, but Macy Barber has looked great in her previous fights, and she's kind of been on a roll. So I'm not sure that Caitlin's one of those girls that is a very good fighter. She's great in the ground. She's got good striking, but she tends to fold a lot in bigger fights with opponents like Macy Barber. So this one might be Macy's fight to lose, but I guess we'll see what happens there. Last fight of the prelims, another big fight. Curtis Blades versus Jailton Almeida. I mean, come on. This is the featured fight of the prelims. Curtis Blades, we all know, great fucking wrestler, has striking. This is in the heavyweight division. He's 17-4 overall, and he's coming off a loss to Sergey Pavlovich. It was a TKO loss back in April of last year. Before that, he was on a 3-fight win streak over Jairzinho Rozenstruik, Chris Daukaus, and Tommy Aspinall. Like, I mean, that Aspinall win was the one where Aspinall hurt his knee, but it's still a win. But yeah, that is Curtis Blades versus Jailton Almeida, who did not look too great in his last fight. He is coming off a loss as... Oh, no. I'm sorry. What the fuck was I thinking? Oh, that was a win over Derek. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of Derek Lewis. And Jairzinho Rozenstruik, that's who I was thinking of, because that's who Jailton Almeida beat. So, actually, Almeida's on a 1-2-3. Oh, my God. He's undefeated in the UFC. Let's just say that. And he is 20-2 overall, but he's undefeated in the UFC. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in a row. So this is going to be a tough one for Curtis Blades, but I think if Curtis Blades uses that wrestling like he usually does, that he's so good at, and he might be able to stifle Jailton Almeida and everything he does, but Almeida's a good submission artist as well. So that should be a pretty entertaining fight. Now that we spent all that time on the fucking prelims, let's go to the main card. What we're all here for. The main card is fucking legit, and it starts with Petr Yan versus Song Yadong. I mean, again, fucking Song Yadong looked like a K-pop star in the press conference. This shit was so funny. But Petr Yan, former bantamweight champion, 16-5 overall, 8-4 in the UFC. He's 31 years old. Let's see. I mean, what else? Here's the thing, though. He's on a 3-fight losing streak, so that's tough. But his opponents: Aljamain Sterling, Sean O'Malley, Merab Dvalishvili. Now, a lot of people think that Petr Yan beat Sugar Sean, but it is what it is. That was a split decision loss to Sugar, and then Merab just came out and dominated against him. Looked fucking fantastic against Petr Yan. And then of course Aljamain Sterling in the rematch after Aljo got the win by disqualification because Petr Yan threw that illegal knee. He came back and got a win over Corey Sandhagen, but then 3 losses in a row. That's fucking tough. So he's looking for a big win here. But he's got a big, a game opponent in Song Yadong. He's 26 years old, 21-7 overall, 10-2 in the UFC. And I mean, he's also, actually he's on the other side of things. He's on a 2-fight win streak. Those wins were over Ricky Simon and Chris Gutierrez. Has a loss over to Corey Sandhagen as well. Before that was on a 3-fight win streak. I mean, Song Yadong is a fucking, he's the man. But Petr Yan is a tough opponent, and when it comes down to it, he's out here looking for blood, trying to make his way back into the win column. And he has all the skills. Like we've seen what he can do. He's a former champion. There's no denying the fact that he's a great fighter. But what can he do here against Song Yadong? Is he gonna continue on this downward spiral that he's been in, or is he gonna be able to dig his way out of it, get himself a win here? It'd be much better for him and his confidence if he gets a big win here. But a unanimous decision win, it's still a win. It's a dub, and it puts him back in that column, and that's exactly what he needs right now, just because of this losing skid he's been on. But Song Yadong is going to be there to try to stifle that and get a win of his own. I mean, he's fought a lot of big names, and he's hung in there with a lot of big names, so he's got great striking. If Petr Yan tries to stand toe-to-toe with him, I'm not sure that Yan has the power that Song Yadong has, but I feel like this is going to be a good fight overall. Whether it's done quick or it takes all 3 rounds, I feel like it's going to be good. I feel like it's going to be exciting, and it's going to be a great way to start off the main card for UFC 299. I am thirsty. I don't know. Maybe Jack and Coke isn't the way to cure that thirst, but it's fun. It's more fun, and it keeps me going. So here we go. Let's move on to, holy shit, the second fight of the main card. Gilbert Burns versus JDM, Jack Della Maddalena. Gilbert Burns, we all know Gilbert Burns. He's a fucking badass. He's fought for the title before, been in contention most of his time in the UFC, if not really close to being at fighting for the title. He's been there fighting for the title. He's never become the champ, but he's definitely fought a lot of big names and gotten a lot of good wins. He's 22-6 overall, 15-6 in the UFC. I mean, he's 37 years old, but he still looks good, man. And he still has what it takes to win, I believe. He is coming off a loss, unfortunately. Let's see who that loss was to. Belal Muhammad. So that's a tough. I mean, Belal is in the hunt right now. Should have probably already gotten a title shot and hasn't yet. But that was a unanimous decision loss to Belal. Before that, he was on a 2-fight win streak with wins over Neil Magny and Jorge Masvidal. Then he was in that war with Khamzat Chimaev, where he made Chimaev look like a human instead of the superhuman that he seemed to be before that. That was a crazy fight. And yeah, I mean, he gave Khamzat a hell of a fight in that one. So, but he's fighting a tough opponent in Jack Della Maddalena. JDM, 16-2 overall, 6-0, undefeated in the UFC. Yeah, and those, I mean, the strength of schedule is the difference here, because yeah, JDM, his last win was against Kevin Holland. Before that, it was Basil Hafez, Randy Brown, Danny Roberts. I mean, no real big names here. Now, don't get me wrong, JDM is a badass. He definitely has his skills, and he I mean, he can hang for sure, but he doesn't have the strength of schedule that Gilbert Burns has. He hasn't fought the same level of opponents that Gilbert Burns has fought and beat. So that's the difference there. He may be on a 6-fight win streak in the UFC, completely undefeated, and Gilbert Burns is coming off a loss. But I don't know, man. I'm kind of going with the old dog here. You know what I just thought about? I'm not going over my picks. I'll do it at the end. I do have the graphic for that. I'll show you all my picks at the end. The one thing I forgot to mention was, I'll mention it at the end. I'll talk about it at the end. Anyway, Gilbert Burns. I got to remember that because I'm making picks and I want to like update everyone on how I did on those picks, especially when I do good, like I did this past weekend. And I'm hoping for a repeat of that this weekend coming up. We'll get to it. But yeah, Gilbert Burns, man, you know, yeah, big strikes. He's definitely got knockdown / knockout power. Maybe that's not what he's known for, but he's known for getting into big battles and big wars with people. And, you know, a lot of times he comes out on top. He definitely has good striking. Look at that big shot against Belal Muhammad, even though he dropped this fight. Like I said, too, that fight against Khamzat Chimaev, man, that was a fucking war. That was a crazy fight, and that was definitely one that made Gilbert Burns stand out, considering Khamzat just looked unbeatable before, and Gilbert Burns just kind of dropped him down a couple notches and made, you know, maybe gave some people some ideas for a game plan on how to beat Khamzat. But that grittiness of Burns comes through, and you know, when he catches you good. So yeah, this is, I mean, I'm rooting for Gilbert Burns here. In the other fight, I actually had Petr Yan winning on that one. Even though I can see a path for Yadong to get the win, I feel like Petr Yan's not going to let himself lose 4 fights in a row. So he's going to come out there hot, wanting to get that win, probably wanting to get a finish too. So that's why I'm sticking with him. But with Gilbert against JDM, you know, JDM's got some great striking as well. It's weird. This picture is very weird, and I just noticed this because he's smashing his fist in Basil Hafez's face, but it also looks like his face got hit. So it's I don't know if you see what I'm saying. The way that Hafez's face should look is the way JDM's face actually looks. Just smashed right there. I don't know why I'm talking shit, but it's fucked up. But it's just a weird angle, I guess, in the picture. But that's a hell of a punch right there. JDM, you know, he looks good in all of his fights. He had a good outing against Kevin Holland. Again, undefeated in the UFC, and he's looking to keep it that way. But can he get past a higher level opponent like Gilbert Burns, who has all kinds of experience, a fucking vet, a grizzled vet, and someone who's very well known and has a hell of a record to show for it. So this should be a pretty exciting fight. Just one of the many on this card. Speaking of Kevin Holland, who we see here, got beat by Jack Della Maddalena before, but he is welcoming Michael Venom Page to the UFC because Michael Venom Page is signed with the UFC, obviously, coming over from Bellator. Michael Venom Page is one of those guys that he's a showman for sure. I mean, Kevin Holland is called Big Mouth for a reason, and he was dubbed that by a lot of people, but you know, Dana White especially called him Big Mouth, and it just stuck. But Kevin Holland is a showman as well. He likes to talk. He likes to act like it's like nothing that he's in there fighting. He just acts like it's an everyday occurrence. But Michael Venom Page likes to put on a show. In the words of Israel Adesanya, he likes to emote quite a bit. He's done the what's it called, the Pokemon thing back, where, you know, he like did all these crazy things. He's got props half the time. I mean, I don't think that shit's gonna fly in the UFC, but he's gotten points taken from him because he's on the ground, like ground and pounding a guy and just stops in the middle of it and acts like he's taking a selfie. Fucking Dan Miragliotta stood him up and was like, hey, cut that shit out. And he took a point from him. He's done all kinds of shit. He cracked some dude's skull. The male cyborg, he cracked his skull with a flying knee. Like, legit cracked his skull. He caved in some other dude's knee by kicking it. Michael Venom Page is the truth outside of the UFC. But has he fought UFC caliber opponents? Negative. I don't think he has. I don't feel like he has. The proof is there. Go look at his record. I mean, that's all there is to it. I don't know how else to say it, except I don't think he's fought the level of competition that he's going to face in the UFC. And starting with Kevin Holland, that's an obstacle of its own. And, you know, Kevin Holland, 25-10, 12-7 in the UFC. He is coming off a loss to JDM, like we just talked about. That was back in September. Before that, he was on a 2-fight win streak with wins over Santiago Ponzinibbio and Michael Chiesa. So, I mean, and, you know, he's got submission wins, KO wins, TKO wins, lots of them. Lots of all of those. And, you know, he wins decisions as well. Kevin Holland, he's a badass. They call him Big Mouth because he's going to be in there talking. And Michael Venom Page is up for that challenge, at least that we've seen in the past. But Michael Venom Page has fought in Bellator before, but also fought Mike Perry in bare knuckle boxing. Why you would go to bare knuckle boxing when you have crazy dynamic kicks and knees that you knock people out with all the time, but yet you want to take away those weapons and challenge yourself in just hand striking? I don't know. But he fought the fucking bare knuckle goat today, Michael Perry. And Michael, why did I call him Michael? Mike Perry. But you know, and he lost. And Mike Perry just did work. So, but yeah, MVP is 21-2 overall. This is his UFC debut, so of course he has no wins or losses here. He's coming off a win over Gyoti Yamaguchi, or Yamauchi, my bad, in Bellator. That was March of last year. Before that, he had one loss to Logan Storley, and then he was on a 6-fight win streak spanning from 2019 to 2021. So I mean, and he's got a lot of highlight reel wins, like TKOs, KOs left and right, flying knee punches, like everything. So he's a flashy fighter. He is out there to put on a show, but against someone like Kevin Holland, who's tall and lanky like him, he might have a harder time trying to put things together and fight the way he normally does. Kevin Holland, like I said, long, lanky. I don't know if Michael Page is going to be able to hold him at a distance like he's used to doing to other opponents. And again, UFC debut, UFC jitters, the lights are brighter, the pressure is stronger, and you know, it's your first time in this organization. Everything's different leading up to the fight. In the back, the walkout, so many things are different in the UFC. The level of opponents, everything. So when it comes down to it, is he going to be able to overcome all that? Is he going to be able to put all that aside and do what he normally does in his fights previously in Bellator? And you know, he didn't fare well in BKFC. So who knows? But Kevin Holland is a badass. Big strikes. He's got submissions as well. But when it comes down to it, I mean, you know, he can be beat. We've seen him be beat. We've seen him not do well against certain opponents. I feel like Wonder Boy was kind of similar to Michael Venom Page as far as the fight style goes. It's just Page is like way more flashy, takes more chances than Wonder Boy does. Wonder Boy fights a bit more strategic, but they're both kind of that point karate style, wide stances, lengthy fighters. So, but Kevin Holland likes to get work done, and he's got ground and pound, he's got strikes, He can submit people. He's got it all. And he's the big mouth, so he's going to get in your head with his fucking trash talk. And, you know, he likes to do shit in the middle of the fight, too, like getting choked by Cowboy Oliveira. And he knows that the choke isn't sunk in, but, you know, Oliveira's on his back trying to sink the choke in, and he's giving the thumbs up and smiling. He's like, I'm good. So he's a character for sure, but has he met his match when it comes to MVP? Michael Venom Page is a character as well. You know, elbows, knees, kicks, punches, he does it all. I haven't seen much out of him for submissions because he always stops people on their feet with the strikes, or he's getting stopped. So what else does he have? What's going to happen when he gets taken into deep waters by a vet like Kevin Holland? Who knows? But Kevin Holland's going to have to fight off these crazy strikes of Michael Venom Page, the weird style, the awkward style. This is going to be a good fight. That's all I know. I'm looking fucking forward to this fight. I feel like it's going to be exciting. Even if it goes all 3 rounds, I think we're going to get a lot of action in this fight. I hope it's not one of those stalemate type fights, but I don't think it's going to be. I think Michael Venom Page is coming out to show and prove what he can do for his first time in the UFC, and he wants to make a good impression. And I think Kevin Holland's here to show and prove what the UFC fighters are all about, and that you can't just come in from an organization like Bellator where you've never fought anybody like a fighter from the UFC and show and prove that this is a different level. There's levels to this game, and the UFC's on a whole different level than what Michael Venom Page was fighting at before. So what's going to happen here, I don't know, but personally I'm going for Kevin Holland, and that's how it goes. So I'm excited for this one, though. Let's get to the co-main event. Like, big-time co-main event. Dustin Poirier versus Benoit Saint-Denis, BSD. Whew, this one. I don't even know where to start. Because when it comes down to it, Dustin Poirier is a fucking legend. He's a legit fighter. Fought for the BMF title, you know, unfortunately got kicked by Justin Gaethje, though. I mean, Gaethje's a badass, so it's hard to say unfortunately, but I mean, that was a hell of a fight. Dustin Poirier is the epitome of an exciting fighter. He's always involved in a war. He's got that dog in him for sure. And fucking, you can't go wrong with a Dustin Poirier fight. Now, he's at that age where everyone talks about the downswing is coming. 35 years old, things start looking bleak, looking grim, but Poirier's not about that. I mean, to me, he doesn't even look like he's 35, but unfortunately, he has been having that, like, I'm at the tail end of my career talk, so that kind of hinders people sometimes. It's unfortunate, but it's true. Once you start talking about retirement, possible retirement, or thinking that it might be time to get out the game, that hinders your ability to fight the way that you used to fight, especially when you're a crazy fighter like Dustin Poirier has been, you know. But will he be able to put all that aside? I don't know. That's the tough part here. Benoit Saint-Denis has not fought anyone like Dustin Poirier, that's for goddamn sure, but he's called the God of War. I mean, this dude is a former Marine. I think it's Marine in wherever he's from. Fuck, French, I think. I don't know. Yeah, I think he's from France. That's disrespectful. I apologize. But anyway, he's a scary looking dude. And he's a legit fighter. But I don't know that he's got what it takes to fight off someone like Dustin Poirier, especially if Poirier's in his element, doing what he does and fighting like he knows how to. Unfortunately, he's coming off a loss, but Dustin Poirier is 29-8 overall, 21-7 in the UFC. That's a hell of a lot of fucking UFC fights. Once again, a vet versus someone who's only had a few fights in the UFC. But as I mentioned before, Poirier coming off that loss to Justin Gaethje for the BMF title. That was a head kick knockout, but that was back in July of last year. So he's had a pretty decent layoff since then. taking care of that brain and, you know, sharpening his tools. Kind of a win-loss type thing happening here. Loss against Justin Gaethje, win against Michael Chandler, loss against Charles Oliveira, but then he had 3 wins in a row, 2 of those being over Conor McGregor. So that's nothing to scoff at. And then also a win over Dan Hooker. He's fought for the title multiple times. You know, it's Dustin fucking Poirier. DP the Diamond. Come on. We all know who Dustin Poirier is and what he's capable of. But, you know, fighting against someone with the nickname of God of War, I mean, that's pretty legit. But I don't know if BSD has what it takes. He's got a 14. What is he? Oh shit, did I mess that up? He's 13-1. I think I did mess that up. Damn it. He is on a 5 fight win streak. Last one being over Matt Frivola with that nasty head kick KO in the first round in November of last year. He has a win over Thiago Moises, Ismael Bonfim, Gabriel Miranda, and Nicholas Stoltz. So, again, strength of schedule is totally different here. When Dustin's fought the best of the best, the biggest names out there, win, lose, or draw, he's fought those big names and hung with them. So, BSD is, I screwed up that entire thing. That's right. I'm just gonna forget about it. But I mean, don't get me wrong. This is a weird matchup. I don't know why the fuck they did this. But I feel like if Poirier can get the win here, I mean, that's just a big catapult for him and what he can do and where he's at with his career right now. Even though he's talking about possibly ending it, but you know, these big fights against people like Dan Hooker, you know, Dustin Poirier is always gonna fucking put some damage on you, take some damage as well, but he can take it. Big punch against making Conor look like a fool, which he did multiple times. And he's got 2 wins over one of the biggest names in MMA. I mean, come on. And then this win over Michael Chandler was impressive as well, especially with everything Michael Chandler's been up to. But yeah, he definitely put work in on him. And then the last fight against Justin Gaethje, where he took that head kick KO. No one's really done that to him before. Justin Gaethje being the first, but with Gaethje and the way that he fights, it's not a surprise. So, yeah, but you know, Benoit Saint-Denis, he's got good pressure. He's got the high kicks as well. That's that kick against Matt Frivola we just talked about a minute ago. And then nasty elbows too. BSD's got the skills for sure to give Dustin Poirier a great fight, but does he have what it takes to beat him? I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I'm going with Poirier, even though Poirier's the fucking underdog here. Like, what is that? Crazy. Just crazy. I don't get it. But that's why he's my pick, because that's a damn good play right there. Dustin Poirier being the underdog, you got to take that. You got to take that bet. Let's move on to the final fight. The main event. Sugar Sean O'Malley versus Marlon Cheeto Vera. This is a rematch. Cheeto got the win last time, as I mentioned before. This is for the Bantamweight Championship bout. Sean O'Malley's first title defense since winning against Aljamain Sterling. Oh man, this is I was torn on this one. I was torn, but I love this fight. I mean, it's not like the biggest fight I could think of, and it's not the opponent I thought O'Malley was going to go with for his first defense. But he wants to get that loss that he continuously says was not a loss. He wants to get that back, and I know it deep down inside, that's what he wants. And of course, that's the only blemish on his record, is that loss to Cheeto Vera that he claims is not a loss, but it's on his fucking record. So I'm gonna fight that till the end. I like Sean. I like him a lot, but you know, I can't get down with this whole thing that he's never lost, because he has. It's similar to John Jones. You know, the ruling is stupid, but John Jones lost once before too, even though a lot of people say he's undefeated. So 17-1 though for Sugar Sean. 29 years old. He's 9-1 in the UFC. And of course, he's on a, well, let's see, not counting the no contest to Pedro Munoz, he's on a 5-fight win streak. Technically, I guess you call it 2. But he's got wins over Aljamain Sterling, Petr Yan, Eddie Wineland. I mean, honestly, his strength of schedule isn't crazy either. Like, Pedro Munoz and Petr Yan and Aljo are like among, and Cheeto are really the biggest names that he's fought, which is crazy because he's super hyped. He's super popular, and he's got a lot of, clout around him, but he's also the champion. He did legitimately beat Aljamain Sterling with that TKO, knocked him down with that punch and fucking finished him in the second round. So what can you say? I mean, he's the champ and he won it legit. A lot of people claim that you're not a real champ until you defend your title at least once. So he's going up against the one guy who's beat him, and he's trying to get that back and show and prove that he's a true champion. So Cheeto's out there though to prove that his win over Sean O'Malley was not a fluke. And honestly, it's hard to say that it was a fluke because he was looking better than Sean in that fight. So even though Sean claims he was beating him the whole time, it was a freak accident, it shouldn't have been considered a win for Cheeto, blah 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 blah. I don't know about that one. So but Cheeto is 23-8 overall and 15-7 in the UFC. This dude has a lot of fights in the UFC. But again, I fucked up. Jesus Christ. I need to look these over every time. It's okay. It's very small, and who gives a shit? You're probably not even paying attention to it anyway. But he's only coming off 1 win, not 6. So I don't know how I did that. But Pedro Munoz was his last fight, and he got a win there by unanimous decision. But again, he didn't look great in that fight. And I'm wondering if that's why Sean picked him to fight for his first title defense, because he did not look that great against Pedro Munoz. Yes, he got a unanimous decision win, but he just didn't look like the Cheeto that he looked like before. He had a loss against Corey Sandhagen. That was a split decision. But before that, he had that nasty KO head kick to Dominic Cruz. Had a win over Rob Font. Another nasty head kick KO to Frankie Edgar. I mean, shit. Sean O'Malley better watch his head, because Cheeto comes head-hunting with those kicks. So that's what makes this an exciting fight, because also Sean O'Malley has those quick jabs, those stiff jabs. He comes out of nowhere with punches that take people out. So, I mean, I feel like this is going to be a pretty good fight. And I think that Sean is not the same fighter that fought Cheeto back in, a while back. But he's got to watch out for those leg kicks, because Cheeto already caught him once with that. If he catches him again, that's a shitty way to lose that belt. That's for goddamn sure. And I'd hate to see that happen. I'd rather see Cheeto win fair and square than to win off that shit, so that, Sean can claim over and over again that it wasn't a real win. Something keeps tickling my nose and it's driving me crazy. But Sugar Sean, this was with their their first fight, getting some good body kicks to Cheeto. Like I said, Sugar just claims that he was winning the whole fight until the leg thing happened. This was that crazy fight against not Munoz, but man, I forgot homeboy's name. But this dude took massive damage from Sean O'Malley and survived all the way through, but he got his ass whooped, and he actually landed pretty decently on Sean as well. But oh shit. But Sean got this big punch, this big left hand against Aljamain Sterling to knock him down, follow up with the ground and pound, and this was where he won his title against Aljamain Sterling, who is moving up to the featherweight division. So yeah, that's Sugar, man. I don't know I don't know how this is gonna run because Cheeto has crazy striking as well. Again, you know, he has knockout power, and you know, he always lands on everyone that he fights for sure. He's got the striking, and you know, those fucking kicks. Those kicks are lethal. He goes head hunting. This is just such a nasty kick, and I hate doing this to Frankie Edgar, but that is such a crazy picture, and that knockout was insane. Not to mention the one before it with Dominic Cruz. That was like a weird grazing kick, but it still landed flush and knocked out Dominic Cruz. So craziness, man. This is gonna be such an exciting fucking fight card. My picks overall, I'm going, even though I love Cheeto, and I feel like if he lands one of those head kicks, Sean O'Malley's going night-night, lights out. But I have to go with O'Malley in this one just because I got this weird feeling. And I feel like Sean's on a high right now. And I feel like there's no way he's going to allow Cheeto to claim those wins over him. And I feel like that's going to catapult him to being able to get the win. The only issue is he has the pink shorts. He's going to be wearing the championship shorts with the gold lettering, but they're pink. Now, Israel Adesanya did that with the red shorts when he fought Sean Strickland, and he lost. I feel like the colored, I think, was it, I don't know. I thought someone else did it too, but I just feel like that's a bad omen. So I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Sean O'Malley, though, is a -278 favorite against Cheeto Vera to retain his belt. So I'm going to stick with that. That's my pick for that fight. Dustin Poirier is a +170 fucking underdog. What are you talking about? That's insane. I know BSD is a great fighter, and he looks like a world beater right now, and he's a younger fighter, and he's up and coming, blah, blah, blah. But Dustin Poirier being a fucking underdog, come on, man. That's crazy. So I have to bet on Dustin. There we go. Kevin Holland is a -130 fucking favorite. So, I mean, that's kind of a close fight there. Michael Venom Page is definitely a dangerous guy, like I said before. But I have to go with Kevin Holland, the vet. I don't know that MVP can make his debut and be as spectacular as he has been in the past in Bellator. I feel like everything's going to get to him a bit, and Kevin Holland's going to do what he does, take him to deep waters and get the win by decision, most likely. That's my prediction, but I'm going with him in the parlay as a favorite. Gilbert Burns is a +136 underdog versus Della Maddalena, but he's a fucking vet. Again, this is the same thing like Poirier. Just because he's older, just because he's lost some fights here and there against big name opponents, that strength of schedule is insane compared to JDM. Same with Dustin against BSD. All these fucking abbreviated names. All I can say is Gilbert Burns is a dog. I can't bet against him. I feel like he's going to do work, and he's a +136 underdog. I got to go with him. And then we got Petr Yan as a -15 favorite against Song Yadong. I feel like Song Yadong has good power and has the possibility to stop Petr Yan. But in the end, Petr Yan is on a 3-fight losing skid. He's looking to do what he can to get back in that win column. He's got the motivation and the determination to try to get it done, especially being a former champion. I have to go with Petr Yan in this one, unfortunately, because I do like Song Yadong. That's the only reason why I say that. But there's my parlay. I already put the bet in. I already dropped the money. So let's go. Let's get this win. I need to fucking finally come out plus money in something. Every time I bet, I bet crazy dumb shit though too. Don't get me wrong. I still put in a couple crazy parlays here and there. If I win them, fuck yeah. If I don't, oh well. This one though, I'd like to win this one. Last week, that's what I was mentioning earlier. Last week, every single pick won. I picked a main card parlay, made all my picks, but I did not put down any money. That's how you know right there. Look at this picture. I got the money in the picture. That means I put down the money for the bet this time. If you see that on my parlay, that means I'm actually betting. If the money's not there, it's because no money was dropped. So there you go. Last week, no money dropped. I fucked up, fumbled the bag. And I got every one of them right, god damn it. So I'm hoping for a replay of that. Let's make up for it here. But that's it. It's done. I'm out here doing nothing in this fucking shitty hotel room. So guess what? I went longer, but we had a lot to talk about. Everything from Jake Paul getting a win in boxing again against whoever the fuck that guy was, and then announcing he's fighting Mike Tyson on Netflix of all places in July. Crazy. And it's true. So we'll see how that plays out. Junior Dos Santos with a big win in Bareknuckle MMA to become the inaugural heavyweight champion there. What else? Francis-Ngannou versus anthonyjoshua. God damn, this weekend is crazy. Crazy. Let's go Ngannou, though, man. I would love to see him get the win. I would love to see him just lift up the MMA world, because we have had not great representation going into boxing and boxing people in, professional bouts. He looked good against Tyson Fury in that fight, so let's get it done against anthonyjoshua. It's only up from here, man. Let's get this shit done. And then 238, whatever, Fight Night 238, no big deal there, except I would have won some money had I put in the bet for that parlay. God damn it. And then UFC 299, UFC Miami. Let's go. Watch Party Podcast. Don't forget, Saturday night, main card. Once that main card starts, we go live. Clark's going to be there. Josh might be there. We'll see who else jumps in. It's going to be a good time. I cannot wait for these fucking fights. UFC 299 will not disappoint. At least I don't think so. Don't forget to watch it. ESPN Plus. Get the pay-per-view. I think the discount is over. I think it is. No, I think you have till Saturday. So order that fight now. You get $10 off. Do it. I already did mine. I did it last pay-per-view as well. So enjoy the fights. Tomorrow during the day is the Joshua versus Ngannou fight. So pay attention to social media. Go follow me everywhere, and I'll let you know what happens. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm done. It's been almost 2 hours, but I had fun. Thank you to anybody who stuck around. Thank you for anybody that watched before this. Don't forget to support me, like and subscribe, share it with a friend, share it with social media. I don't give a shit. Just share it. Help me out. And that's it. I'm going to pack up all my shit now. That should be fun. And yeah, I'm done. I'm out. Have a good night. Enjoy the fucking fights. They're going to be great. We'll see you on Saturday for the Watch Party Podcast back here on the YouTube, Going Around's YouTube channel during the main card of UFC 299. I'm out. Peace.